Good evening, family. Greetings. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from in the world. My name is Angela Santiamar. I am your host today for this live discussion on the United States of Africa Facebook page and the YouTube page, also streaming from Ghana. Marking today being 111 years since the birth of the late great Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Today we just want to invite our guests and for you to engage as well to for us to let's look at and celebrate his legacy, see where we are now, and what else needs to be done. And so, without further ado, I'm going to invite my guests on for this evening. There'll be a few coming through. The first is Mr. Francis Amuzu and Titi. Sorry, ask each of them to. So, Francis Amuzu, can you please introduce yourself? Can you please unmute yourself and then introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Francis Amuzu. I'm the caretaker CEO of Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa, a life coach and a Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Titi, can you hear him as well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. We can hear you. We can hear you. There may be a slight time delay, but we can hear you clearly. So let me just allow
Yes, I
Titi
can.
okay, let me just allow Titi to introduce yourself briefly, and then we can get into the discussion. Titi, please just give a brief introduction to the family or the viewers for this evening.
Uh, thank you, Angela. Thank you for hosting us. Hello to all the viewers, and hello to Francis in the panel with me, and also to the president of GPAN. I understand that he might be with us along the way. So my name is Tyson. I'm in South Africa. I'm a lecturer. I'm an entrepreneur, and I hope that today we will be able to we will have a fruitful uh, conversation regarding the legacy of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So with that, I see that we've got Koto.
Yes. So Julius, brother Julius Akoto, please give your introduce yourself briefly to the audience, and then we can get into some discussion about this evening's subject.
Good evening to everybody.
Can you hear
to
me,
my
brother
brothers
Julius?
on the other side. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you. I
Good
can
evening.
hear you. Please go ahead with your
Good
introduction.
evening.
Sorry.
Yeah, good evening to my brothers on the other side, Francis and Titi Azania. Are they hearing me?
Yes, they're hearing us. They're just on
Angela, are
mute,
you
but
hearing me?
I am
Oh,
hearing you loudly and clearly, Julius.
okay, so, okay, thank you. So I am Julius Akoto from the University of Ghana is on the Kwame Nkrumah. I looked at his African traditional thought, use those thoughts to awaken national consciousness in Ghana and more taste of that globally.
Wonderful. That was nice and brief and short. So, what or where I would like us to start, really, and I'm sure you all have different perspectives, is when we talk about our late great Osagyefo Dr Kwame Nkrumah, and celebrating his legacy. What does that actually mean to you? Um, Francis, would you like to start to respond to that question? What does celebrating the legacy of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah mean to you? Or yes, let me start there.
I would say it means a lot in the sense that from the aspect of as we know his legacies, his name still continues, and we are still learning a lot from his achievements. So we, the younger ones that never had the privilege to see him, his legacy has helped us intuitively, has helped us to understand where we are coming from and the struggle that we are in. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Tyson. How about you? What is the legacy, in your own words, for you? What is the legacy that you would celebrate on this day that we are marking today? Tyson, can you hear me?
Oh, thank you. I can hear you, Angela. Okay, so let me take from one of our comments on Facebook saying how I wish he were alive to see the Africa he dreamt or thrown away by our leaders. Taking it from there and saying that we need to celebrate the legacy. We must celebrate the legacy. It might be that it is 50, 60 years into the formation of the Organization for African Unity. 50 years, 60 years going, it is only now that we are starting to realize that African Renaissance that they dreamed would have been a matter of 5, maybe 10 years. But even today, we still need to say that we did not lose. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is not dead, but he lives through us. We need to always shout that message. That message must not be heard once we have come of age. That is the message that we should be teaching from preschool, to say we have great men who have had such an impact on the discourse of Africa as a continent, as an Africa actually, as a united single nation. So with that, I needed to understand that in responding to Yahweh. It is, of course, we can have this and that to point at, to say the leaders that are messing up. But let's not forget the leaders that were. Let's not forget the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Let's not forget the likes of the great Lika Isaka Seme. We are not forgetting them. Their legacy lives on. They live through us. For as long as we believe that we will fight and achieve and actually unite Africa, we are living on their dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson. Oh, I think we have briefly lost Brother Julius Akoto. So I'm sure he'll be back. I'm sure he will be back. Wow, 111 years since he was born, and I think there are probably positives that there are definitely positives that we can take. You know, the fact that he is known as the one to have led independence in 1957, not necessarily single-handedly, but still, it takes one person to be the one that's going to stand up and really be the voice of the people. I yes, I'm just picking up this comment that I think relates to what Tyson about the need to teach the children this of this legacy from a young age. Forgive. I think it may take a while to show through on your side. Um, but it says we need to tell our children our story with us. Definitely, as in the need for us people, or only people who don't look like us or have our background, share that story for us.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
join us.
think.
So guests will be coming through. Audience, I need to know. Welcome, Ismaila Fati. Would you please briefly introduce yourself to the viewers, and then let us know what the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah means to you?
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you?
I am Ismaila Fati, a
Mhm.
Pan-Africanist, a political scientist from the Gambia. And I am glad to be
Okay,
part
thank
of
you.
this
And what is?
beauty.
Thank you. What we were talking about before you got onto the platform is literally when we talk about celebrating the legacy of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. What does that mean to you? What is the importance of that for you?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? It's like the network is broken. I can get you so clear.
Sure, Ismella. I was saying that I was asking you, when we talk about celebrating the legacy that is of our late great Osagyefo, sorry, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, what does celebrating his legacy, what does that mean to you or mean for you?
I
It may be frozen. Oh, can you hear us, Ismella? Um, we may come back to Ishmaela once he's set himself up. Okay, so I'm going to pull up this for your views on this before we move on to the next question. Okay, hopefully this should be coming up on your screens, Francis and Tyson, ever so shortly.
Thank you. That is
I'll read it for
Kwame
the viewers.
Kwanzaa.
So when Kwame Nkrumah was alive. Okay, so when Kwame Nkrumah was alive, there was a common programmatic agenda for the liberation of the African continent with the participation of the diaspora. Currently, there are many Pan-African groups, organizations, but we have not seen a common agenda, coordinated work by these organizations. Do you agree or see coordinated work initiatives? Tyson, Francis, would either of you like to comment on the or respond to this comment that I just read out this question?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Coming from Kwame Kwanzaa. I actually have a very pressing issue internally myself debating as to whether there is really a coordinated effort, a single front that we are saying we are united, because you see, unity is very simple when we talk in rhetoric. It's very simple to address, to look at unity and talk about unity and the dream of unity, but not necessarily uniting. Because if you check today what's happening in the diaspora and even actually in Africa itself, more so in Africa itself, there are so many Pan-African, not individual anymore. There are just many groups. There are many groupings which have like different ideologies, which are somewhat very divided in their unity. So yes, I would agree with Kwame that yes, we do need to have our leaders who are saying that we are young and we are coming up as Pan-Africanists. We need to engage with them. We need to have them engaging with one another to enter into conferences whereby when they enter as two organizations, coming out of such a discussion, there will be one stronger organization. I think we are failing at that to just say that we need to call conferences of Pan-Africanist groups. We get in with 3 organizations and come out with one. We need to unite in that front, because right now there are so many gospels that have been preached all over the world by Pan-Africanists and pseudo-Pan-Africanists, and the people are confused because there is no one single center of power which is actually directing the movement, because we are a movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyson. And Francis, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would like to add to what my brothers just said. To me, I think the differences of these various groups is needed. Like we speak different languages, there is a need for us to have different thoughts, but we all have one common agenda, the goal. We all know the final destination of how we want Africa to be, or we Africans, how we want to live. We all, every Pan African group out there knows it. So, in that case, the means to that ends will be different, but the goal is the target is one. So, now let's look at to be able to unite, we need to find one common weak link to be strengthened among ourselves, regardless our differences. So, like I'm saying, we Pan Africanists do not understand the value of our land. So now, I would suggest in Africa, our women is one aspect of it. We Pan African has been preaching a lot about our women. So every Pan African group has an agenda whereby they target the women. It doesn't matter, even our government, our corrupt governments, our leaders that we are all complaining about have one specific problematic that everybody is fighting for, that gender equality for women. Regardless, we all, that aspect of ours, we need to identify that, because when we understand that the women are the key, the motherland too is the key. We need to focus our that is the common interest that we might all have. We all have our ways, we all have our thoughts, our visions, but that aspect, that weak link of pushing the women, making them voice out, especially the mothers. Because, like I always say, if my mom had a say in our current current political structure in Africa, trust me, or political system, it wouldn't be very, very difficult. But since you and I, the masses out there, the women themselves, they should understand they are the masses. They are not even fighting for. They are not even. They are fighting. Sorry, they are fighting so hard to get their voices out there. So it is one aspect as we Pan African group to focus our attention on that aspect and the land. So that's what I have to add to it.
I'm here. Just one moment. Can you hear me? Yes. If I'm hearing correctly, we haven't yet gone far enough in what our late great Dr. Kwame Nkrumah started. You know, recognizing the value and the power of our mothers, the women. We haven't yet really put that into practicality, and that's why we still talk of and we will hear about women's empowerment, although Power to Our Mothers Foundation was specifically talking about mothers or mother figures, referring to all women because we are mothers or mother figures. So that is I think really goes underlooked. You know, the fact that yes, our honourable Kwame Nkrumah, he did front. He did a lot in terms of promoting or really working with our mothers, the women. They were his backbone. And sorry if this is repetition, but they were his backbone. You know, they were the ones that they did a lot of the mobilization. You know, to bring the masses, and us being women, being the population, statistically, we are. Call it 1%, call it 2%. It's still the majority. So him being able to mobilize the women like that and recognizing their strength into carry forward, you know, his videoing our mothers. So that's something that we still need to do, and we are working towards doing that with the different initiatives with Power to Our Mothers Foundation, building a village with addressing several different aspects through Global Pan-Africanism Network and the Queen's Club that it has. Through different programs we have, like the Women in Political Leadership series. Now, nobody here should ever tire that we speak about our mothers, the women, because yes, the world is the world, and if you are if you have a population that is they're the ones that are suppressed, then we know that something is wrong, and you will have heard me say before that Mama African mothers, like, you know, one platform I was stream before. Ishmaela, can you hear me? Ishmaela, can you hear me?
Yes, Angela, I can hear you, but it seems like your connection is not that much strong. You know, your words are always broken when you speak, so I can't hear you so well.
Can you hear me now? Is that any better? It's okay. Ishmaela, you go.
Yeah,
I can hear
I'm
you,
having, I'm
so
having,
I guess we're fine.
Thanks,
yeah, I'm having
Tyson. Okay,
difficulties
Ishmaela,
with my internet connection here.
okay, before we lose you again, hopefully not, please go ahead and just let us know what is the importance of celebrating Kwame Nkrumah, and what he did um, for the nation of Ghana, and indeed for Africa, in your own words.
Thank you so much. I am very happy to join this conversation to share my ideas about a great leader who was among the founding fathers of this continent. Kwame Nkrumah, going down to his biography, one will understand that Nkrumah is a great leader. He is a man with clear visions and identity. Basically, he fought a lot in Africa's liberation, and today, in celebrating his birthday, it reminds me of a year when he went down to America and he met
Okay, unfortunately, we have left. We have left. Sorry, we have lost Ishmael Fati. He did say he's got some network problems. So, viewers, us for that. And I think we've actually already the fact that we're looking at the legacy. The reason why it's important that our children know it, all of us know of legacy, and talking about, or starting to talk about, what what is left to be done, that unfortunately, because of his passing, has not yet come to fruition. Tyson, did you want to address that or give your thoughts on that? Is
Oh,
there anything? I know you were speaking about unity.
no, it is all still to be achieved. We cannot actually sugarcoat it, because remember what happened in at the formation of OAU was that Dr. Nkrumah was saying that let's unite right now while we are here. But then there was another group, the Monrovia group, which was saying that let's integrate at a piecemeal, to say that we would respect, as they said, to respect the sanctity of the inherited borders from the Berlin Conference. So with that, we've actually adopted a divided strategy of the enemy in order for us to unite. So we can, of course, the diversity is much appreciated, but still we need a center of power, we need a driving force, we need to come under one under one roof as one. We need to be a single voice. I heard that sometimes it is just because of this pseudo how would you call it. It is not that Africa is complicated. If I've actually been studying just how complicated Russia and the ethnicities in Russia are, they are so complicated. You think that they are very different countries, but they have come together as a federated Russian, as federated under Russia. But so with us, it must be like that until we actually give up. I have heard in the diaspora those who are saying that they are giving up the diaspora to come and actually give while they are in the continent. Or not only are we going to talk about it, we are going to give into it. Right now, when we talk about Africa, a bank which is going to be pro-African, uh, I haven't had any one of us actually talk about the fact that we will be the one funding it. We will be its customers. We will be the one to trust in this bank which is run by our own. You see, while we are not doing those kind of things, the thing is that in the meantime, the economy keeps rolling. We keep on being the customer. We keep on being the consumer, who is actually caught up in the education of being a consumer, and then you are taught to just purchase. And like you can see that it is all messed up, educational wise, cultural wise, religion, everything is messed up in South Africa only. All the other continents have a kind of a mainframe. If you go to India, you will understand that India is has its own cultures, and they actually delve in that culture. You know that okay, these people are Indian. You go to Asia, you find the same thing. You go to Europe, you know we are all Europeans. You go to America, they are also establishing their own thing. At the end of the day, you find that it is only in Africa whereby a river will divide people. Like a river, a simple river will divide people in such that they believe that they are apart from each other and somehow they are different.
Mm, I hear you, Tyson. I don't think I agree. um, to the extent that it's not only in Africa where you have divisions like that. Having recently moved from the UK, London to Accra, Ghana, I can say to you that the nonsense that goes on, like the difference in even some mentality as to whether you live in North London or South London or North England or England, they have the same thing, And you can say in London, yeah, they're divided by the Thames, you know. People actually, they actually take on board these things like they mean anything because you've moved to some different part of the country or even the city. So I just point that out to emphasize that it's not only problems like this. They don't only exist in Africa. I want us to get away from as much as I believe in and I encourage that as a people, we must take self-responsibility. Blame never helped anybody. We must take self-responsibility for the contributions we've made, for our achievements, but also for our downfall. Yes, we must take a responsibility. But I, for one, will very much discourage us viewing ourselves as if we are the only ones that, you know, make mistakes, do wrong things, you know, because I don't think that's being fair to us, is what I would say. But yes, to a certain extent, yes, the unity. I think we're human beings generally, we are very skilled at making things complicated. Like you could sit there, isn't it? We say life is simple, yet we can't achieve some simple things because we think it's much more complicated than it is. And instead of just saying, yes, we're going to, like you said, talk unity, everybody, let's just chip in and we'll buy this, I don't know, this island or this shop or this property or whatever. It's about, oh, but who owns this property? Does it belong to this tribe? What will happen if, you know, these people put in their money? And before you know it, you've lost the whole, you've lost the whole end result or the vision that you were going for, when the simple question was, you know, okay, so let's put our money together and buy something, you know. So in that sense, we don't help ourselves. We do that. I do agree, we make things much more complicated than they are. um so continuing with so we're talking about his legacy, where we have gone, how much more there is to go. I know people talk about, oh, you know, we have to kind of, if you like, revive, or try and pick up from where he left off. But is that enough? Do we have to go much further? What do we think?
Well, thank you. You see, just to build up on what you just said, you look at it from this schoolyard analogy, really, that if you find that somebody from North London was fighting with somebody from South London, it really doesn't matter what color you are, but then when they understand that you're not one of their own, they would come together against you. But the division that we see in Africa is that one tribe is turned against another tribe very simply. Like, you know, one part of a village is turned another and side of a village very simply. You see, we divorce our own, we turn against our own. It's like we've been baptized, let me say that. We've been totally immersed into hating our own or hating self, such that
Yeah.
you find that we would rather support outside of the African descent itself. Anything of African descent to us, it somehow has a connotation of not being trustworthy and not being sincere. Yeah. So, with that in mind, what we need to now go and do, I think I have mentioned this before to say that right now, the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba, they would kill really for the advantage, for the platform that the internet has provided us as the African youth. When we are able to actually contact each other and let each other know of what is going on in our respective countries, and actually be in charge of the narrative. Whenever I hear that there's something happening in Ghana, I know that I've got somebody who stays in Ghana who is going to tell me the African side of things, because we have been fed false data for so long. We believed it. We've actually internalized it. We've entered it into education. It has become the standard of how we learn everything. We see everything from the perspective of saying that, okay, it's human evolution. And then when we start doing that, or we can go and say it's human creation. But in whatever way we look at the world, it is not what we have actually seen it to be initially. It is not what our ancestors saw it to be. Right now, we understand the world from another one's perspective. So at this point in time, the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the likes of Haile Selassie, they would have achieved. They would have achieved. I want to say that we have failed. We have really dragged ourselves. We've been caught up. We have been caught up in such that we fell into the trap. let's say that we fell into the trap. It can be that the trap of neocolonialism, where Ngugi wa Thiong'o wrote that after the battles, whereby the cannon was punishing the body, it became that the pen started to fascinate the brain. We wanted to learn so much that whatever we were learning actually was dehumanizing us, and we internalized it. And right now, wherever we come from, we need to deconstruct all that. We need to understand that we've got an opportunity which is above that which was presented to our forebearers, and we need to use it. We need to penetrate. And I see we've got like a whole lot of people who are listening. We've got the Honorable Ololal. Hey, okay, that is
Olalajulo.
Olalujuyo. Oh, yes. And then we've got Miguel. You see, with all these, the conversation that keeps going, we need to make it international. You know, whatever we are saying, every time, whatever we are saying, we need to understand that we are saying it together. We are saying it as one. When we say that we trust we need to trust each other. I've heard somebody say, we don't trust each other. We don't trust each other. We are not sincere. And then again, we want to be trusted. So I am saying that, you know what, we did not really we are pushing. I should give us that we are pushing. But also let's remember that it was in 1906 that Isaac Agaseme said that Africa was rising. It was in 1906 that he said that it was rising in his speech at Cambridge University, I believe. And then fast forward 50 years later, African Union is formed. And then another 50 years later, we are still having the conversation. It's more than 100 years. And we are still having baby steps. And we still accept. I think that is another problem. We accept that we are taking baby steps. We've been accepting that we are taking baby steps for too long, if in my opinion.
I hear you. And to give another perspective, when that it's just this perspective of time, tens of years, hundreds of years, and yeah, I understand that as a people in different pockets, we're very frustrated because we feel like, you know, with our intellect, with our wealth, our resources, we should have advanced much further than we are right now. And yeah, there's a strong argument for that. Consider the alternative that as a people we have been here for millennia. So these tens of years, these hundreds of years in our existence is actually not that much. So, you know, to suggest that we are maybe moving not as slowly as we think we are. I say that because sometimes we can get really discouraged, like, oh, haven't we done this already? We're talking about the same things. Why are we? And we forget that for us to really understand and embody and wholeheartedly accept things, like you have to repeat it. I think it said that you have to, for you to actually really remember and accept something, and it's like, as you know, truth or something, you have to hear it about 19 times. Any scientist or psychologist out there, you can correct me, but I think it's something like that. You need to hear it a lot of times. And sometimes I think that as soon as we learn something, we expect ourselves to just get up and go and implement things. That we are as we, you know, as we say, we are Africa, we are one, but we forget we are such a diverse group of people. Every single kind of person, you know, exists in the African caucus, if you like. We are so diverse. That is one. Then sometimes it becomes confusing. Okay, so then how do we unite? What's the biggest picture if we are so different? And I don't think there's anything wrong with differences. It's like whatever God you serve, whatever higher source you serve, if you really believe or have faith in their strength or their power, then I would say that you believe that nothing is here by accident. So the differences that we have, they're here for a purpose. But where we struggle and what the problem is when people use differences to place themselves in a superior position or put somebody else in an inferior position. Then we have problems. Then we have wars. We have fights. You know, that kind of thing. So I think I agree that, you know, we should always try and make the most of our achievements, you know, and it is difficult, even though I suggested it, I know it's difficult to accept that, well, maybe we're not advancing as slowly as we think we are. It's difficult to accept that when you just look on the streets and how many of our brothers and sisters' lives are being lost every day, and sometimes over nonsense, you know, like really petty trivia. It would be difficult to just be like, oh yeah, but we're advancing. I get that, but still, it's like I want us not to be at the space where we're necessarily so discouraged that then we lose that, you know, we lose that momentum, the motivation to keep pushing. Because sometimes I just feel, who are we to complain? Tyson has just nicely illustrated to us that we have such opportunities in this age. You know, the fact that the world is global. We can access much more of the world digitally than our ancestors could, and yet look how much they achieved. So then, like, with what we have, then do we really have the right to complain? It's pros and cons. Because, Tyson, when you were saying that, what I was thinking is that, yes, on the one hand, it's good that we have access to so many different people we can connect. On the other hand, what I would say that our ancestors maybe had the advantage of is that because they didn't have the internet, then they really had to go like grassroots.
Okay, I think Angela, I think we've lost Angela. So, well, I will continue the conversation and then I will hand over to her when she reconnects. But then she was talking about the diversity or actually the differences that Africa finds itself in. And I would like to mention that it is in the anthropology of today to say that all of Africa can trace its roots to the east side of Africa, to the west actually, to the Levant of Africa, whereby you see that all of us, we can actually find our lineage back there. You find that even the languages, in the languages themselves, the language, it's a language variant that actually runs right in the middle of the continent, going back to Central Africa, and we can all trace our roots to there. We are not as different as the world would like us to believe. We are different, but we in South Africa we do actually have this motto: is unity in diversity. Yes, we might be diverse culturally, but our unity cannot be compromised by the fact that we are of diverse races here and there. So when Angela was talking about the fact that we are different, I saw that yes, it's to the difference actually. It's imposed on us because we are one people. We know in the anthropology of today, we understand that we are one people, but still we are made to believe that we are different. Where you find that one African brother is fighting another African brother, and all the civil wars that are going on, you find that they come to be depressing because you find one brother, African brother, who is attacking another African brother in the absence of the enemy. Right now, is the ideology that is left. The enemy has long gone. It's the ideology of the enemy that is operating in each and every one of us, whereby we think that communism is the worst thing that has ever happened to the world. We cannot even think out of the box. We cannot think outside what they have taught us anymore. We think that we need to make it within a system that is designed against us. Angela, it's over to you. I was just hosting
Thank
over for you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Connectivity here as well. Let me please invite Brother Julius to say a few words whilst he's rejoined us, and then I'll move on to Brother Ishmaela. Hopefully, we can keep hold of everybody. And thank you, audience, for bearing with the technical issues. Brother Julius, please, the platform is yours. Please share what you would like to in terms of the legacy and things that you've heard on the platform so far.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for all those inconveniences. I wish I could have done something
Oh, that's
about it,
okay.
but yeah. All
That's
right.
okay. We're
So
all suffering from connectivity.
Yeah, so in the limelight of legacy, we have to re-echo Nkrumah's legacy of um, United States of Africa and the whole discourse of in the whole discourse of international thought and international engagement or enlightenment. That was the being of Nkrumah's idea, albeit not essentially from him. This idea actually emerges from the Rastafarians and um, in particular Marcus Garvey. So Nkrumah idea of a United States of Africa as against that which was proposed as an organization still stand the test of time. In the opinion and the philosophy of Marcus Garvey and that of the Rastafarian, their idea was that there should be a United States of Africa. But we know how these debates has gone till this. And Nkrumah has found
Mm. I think we seem to
Angela.
lost Brother Julius ever so slightly there. I'm sure he'll be back with us shortly. Um, thank you for joining the show and the discussion. I've asked the question. Actually, I don't think Tyson ever asked you, but in terms of if there are any questions that you would love to ask Nkrumah if he was still with us now,
Angela.
what would that be? Oh, Brother Julius is back.
I saw.
Park that question for a moment. Yeah.
Okay.
I will definitely come back and ask you that question. Let's let Brother Julius finish what he was saying. Please go ahead, Brother Julius.
Yeah, so Nkrumah's thoughts and his reason for a United States of Africa is very paramount in this era. But the question is, how do we go about it? What are the structures we need to pass? Nkrumah tried his best to address this nuance. Substantively, Nkrumah wanted to, build a framework of a United States of Africa around that which has been a pace setter. That was a United States of 9 to 10 years with African collaborators thrown him into on stage at the end of the day. A United States of Africa is very paramount. And the question of how to go about it, he began to address it as an anthropological disposition and its epistemological displacement of the African. Yes, it is true. The quote you sent with the poster in us lies certain dominant ideas that we need to reawaken. that has to do with our consciousness. And that is why Nkrumah wrote the book Conscientism. So the first thing was that we as African must reawaken our consciousness at the individual level, at the more composite level, or at the multiple level. And this argument equally ties with Ubuntu. So let me go in a bit into the nuance of the framework Nkrumah, put as a measure. The first thing is that Nkrumah realized that anthropologically we have been deconstructing intrinsic values that, and that will make us
Brother Julius, I think we have lost Brother Julius. Your mic is.
I think, yeah. Hopefully you'll come back. No, that's okay, Brother Tyson. He did see issues with his connectivity. So viewers, please bear with us, and hopefully he'll be back. Let's jump in quickly and ask this question. I was asking, it's like, if the late Kwame Nkrumah was alive here and now today, what question or questions would you love to ask him?
It's a very straightforward question, but then I think in itself is broad, because right now I think we are inspired, but we are not driven. We need to know what drove Dr. Nkrumah. What drove them back then? Not the inspiration. The inspiration can come later, but what drove them? I think Brother Julius would be able to answer that question after the extensive study that he has done. Like for the African man, for the African woman to understand where they must get their drive from. Where is this source of strength? Where is the fuel that's going to keep us going? Come what may, we will press forward. Where do we get that from? Sister Angela, are you still here? I think the network is playing games with all of us. But then the question of what we would ask Dr. Nkrumah is as broad. Okay, I think there are. Can you hear Julius? Okay. Messages that are coming in. Okay, our technical issues are persisting, but then otherwise, we need to be driven above being inspired. We need to know what is going to drive us. I think it was an awakening when Sheikh Anta Diop came at the UNESCO to the US and presented the what would you name it? The origin of the Kemet and Egypt, to look at Egypt in order to find Africa. You see, we can look to a whole lot of perspectives, be it spiritually, be it traditionally, be it in the understanding of what man is in this world, in this existence. We can look at a whole lot of perspective, but then we always need to go and ask those who came before us, how is it that they are such great inspirations today? If we would know what drove them then, we would probably be able to even achieve more in that case. I see you're back, Angela.
Yes, I'm back,
And I think
and I believe exactly. So thank you for that, Brother Julius. Welcome back. I will allow you to continue hopefully where you left off. But just we'll add in the question that I asked Brother Tyson, about if late great Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was alive now, what question you would ask him. And Brother Tyson was saying that, well, he basically would love to know what drove Dr. Nkrumah, to move forward with his vision, if I can paraphrase it like that or summarize it like that. So, Brother Julius, the floor is yours. Let's hope the connection will allow will allow us to hear the information that you have to share with us. Thank you. Brother
Hello,
Julius, can you hear me?
Angela.
I can. Yes, wonderful. I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I think.
Nope, we've lost it. Okay, well, it's a shame because I know he has, like Tyson was saying, that he does have he's done some extensive research into the workings and I guess of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So I think left really for me to say, Brother Tyson, what would the message be to the viewers, either live about Kwame Nkrumah, the viewers with?
See, your question did not come through. It was breaking a bit.
I was asking you, as we go to wrap up this discussion, I see Brother Ishmael is back with us. So if we can actually let him get on, and what I'm asking, parting message, what final words or message would you like to leave the viewers about Kwame Nkrumah's legacy, and maybe why we celebrate, why we should celebrate?
All right.
But yeah,
let's celebrate him.
Whatever's your final message to the viewers. What do you want them to take away today?
We celebrate the doctor because of the contribution he has made, because of the human being that he was, because of the African that he was. We celebrate him because he did not mince his word. He spoke for Africa. And I remember there was a picture a couple of days ago. He was having a face down with one European diplomat, and you could see that he meant war. But today we have been taught that we need to mince our word, we need to be nice, we need to actually, be politically correct, so as to say. But this is all to the detriment of the African men, of those of African descent all over the world. We can see what is happening. So I would say that it is time now to awaken, to really get over mincing our words. We need to actually stand together. We need to speak together. We need to speak as one. I am saying that in the spirit of unity, the borders that are between us African brothers should not divide us. The borders, they are artificial, as everyone would say. They are artificial. They were imposed on us. We need to unite. We need to uh, get above the ethnicities that divide us. Let's get above the cultural nuances that divide us and really work for the motherland. We need to work for Africa. We need to get above. We need to actually graduate capitalism. There is a step where you graduate capitalism and you become human. And this is where Brother Julius was saying that the concept of Ubuntu comes in. You become human. You realize that you came empty-handed and you will leave empty-handed. You stop thinking about only prosperity that comes from you, and you start thinking about the land. You start thinking about those that are on the land. It is no longer about us. Some of us are way too fortunate. I'm telling you the truth. Some of us are way too fortunate to be complaining. That is why we need not complain. We need to contribute. So with that, I am saying, Sister Angela, let's unite. Let's unite. Yes, we are united in rhetoric. Let's also continue to unite in action. Every now and then, invest in a country like Lesotho. Every now and then, go visit your brothers in Namibia. Every now and then, let's travel this beautiful continent of ours. The African Free Trade Area is being introduced. Let's take the opportunity of making it a point that wherever country you find yourself in, you are going to support a business that is pan-African, that is black conscious, black conscious. So with that, I see that we've got another question that just came in. Otherwise, thank you very much for having me, Sister Angela. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining the discussion and bearing with the technical issues, especially to the viewers. Brother Julius, you're welcome back. Can I see if I can hear you, please? I'm not sure if we can hear him, which is a shame because he has some good information to share with us. But I won't delay. There was a comment that came up, Brother Tyson, that's like along the lines of what you were saying. If Nkrumah was alive today, Kodjo Marcus would ask him if he still believes all African countries want to unite, because it's obvious most African countries are not ready to unite. That's an interesting one. When people say that we're not ready to do something, some people would have us believe to a certain extent that through after slavery, we weren't ready to be freed. We weren't ready to be emancipated. Do you have any comment on this one before I say anything?
A state of readiness is never going to be achieved. That's why there was a split even back in 1953, in 1961. That is why there's always been this split, is because consensus might never be reached. But Africa did not collapse outside consensus. Africa continued with its kingdoms outside consensus. They built kingdoms outside of consensus. So even today, you need to ask yourself really, what is democracy? What is democracy? Because when you say that countries are not ready to unite, you're talking about a democratic dispensation in which we want to believe that those who've got information, that's the free market, that's how the free market works. We are never going to have free information. Those who have information are the ones who are ahead of everyone else. So right now, it's all in saying that we are ready. Let's not forget that we've got enemies. We are ready, but we don't have enemies. There are people who would rather have us in war and fighting one another. As it is said that if you fly over the Congo, you will see that there are tarmacs, and Congo still has mines which are operational, even if Congo is dysfunctional itself. So you need to really look deeper into what is actually happening. Not that we are not ready. No, we are just being confused. And it's blatant at some point, because you see that the leaders that are systematically taken out. They are systematically excluded from mainstream media. There are leaders who are talking today, but they are systematically being censored. So not that we are not ready, but if people had the truth, and if people knew the truth, it would be biblical. They would be set free.
Absolutely, I echo that as well. Being a mother of two, the fact that we're never really ready. Even the times where we say ready, I will say that you're not ready until the event happens, because then there's no time for practice or preparation. It's like, when you learn to drive, it's like you can learn with your instructor. They're there to course correct you and everything, but you're not actually ready until you get in the car yourself and you have to drive on the road with nobody giving you instruction, or you just have to go with it. And it's only then that you actually know, okay, so what is it that you have in place? And yeah, so I agree that we shouldn't focus too much on this idea of readiness. I would say that, okay, Africa is what's the word, has been ready for a long time, in the sense that we need it. It's not even that, or do we want it? We need it, because it's the only way that each individual nation and anybody that looks like us, wherever we are in the world, can thrive. We actually need it. So from that perspective, we are ready. We've been ready for a very long time. But I think perhaps where Brother Kojo is coming from is that, like I was saying, how things, they're actually simple, but there is a complexity to it, because we have been fed so much information, so much misinformation, um, so much to divide us unnaturally. When I say unnaturally, I mean against the divisions we naturally had, if you like. So we're believing things about each other that just aren't true. But enough of us have said it for long enough that we think it's actually true. It's total confusion. So from that perspective, I would see why someone would think, actually, we're not ready. But it's like, you have to take the step. What do they say? Like, the journey of 1,000,000 miles or 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And I think, to some extent, on the one hand, we need a really powerful vision of where we're going. Yes, a United States of Africa, it is wonderful. But for the person who's struggling on the streets to feed themselves on a daily basis, that can seem like very far away. Physically, what does that actually look like for them on the day-to-day basis? We need something like, almost visually, that people can understand, or we just take the first step. It's like, oh, something happens to one of the African nations. Before you know it, it won't be all of them, but perhaps a majority of the other African nations, we're there in support. We can take steps. It's not going to be perfect, no, but we need to start somewhere. And I think where we get stuck is almost looking for the right step. You don't know whether the step is right or not until you take it. So we need to do something and be like, okay, maybe that wasn't quite right. But once you've taken the first step, then you think, okay, if that wasn't it, then what about this? We can't intellectualize how we're going to get out of where we are. We have to walk it. So I agree
Yeah.
with you that that we are, I think, to a certain extent, we are further than where we are, and we should stop paying lip service to the unity and really take action. And actually, the action doesn't have to be big. Like I said, it could be, and it doesn't even have to be, although we are Pan-Africanists, it doesn't even have to be necessarily first for another country. It can be within your own country. If one business is failing or getting heat from the authorities or something, how many of you can come together and support that business or that family? It starts with the small things, then it grows. So I think that we are done with our discussion for today. That it's one of those discussions we could be here for another 2-3 hours,
Yeah.
because there is a lot. There is a lot, and I think that I'm very grateful to where our late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah has taken us to, and I celebrate his legacy, and unapologetically I say that, but there's more. There's always more. Why? Because those who go before us, our parents, they always are aiming for those who come after them to do better. So we must do better. We stand on their shoulders, but we must do better, you know. And then those who come after us, they do better, and we keep building and we keep improving, you know. So it's important, absolutely, it's important and necessary. I think it's necessary that we do remember, we do celebrate that legacy, and we stand on that, and we use that as a springboard to ask ourselves, okay, so now what more can we do? How can we do better? Because you can always do better. I don't believe in perfection, so we can always do better.
Yes.
So thank you to everybody who watched us today, whether you're watching live or on replay. Again, apologies for the technical issues. We are working clients in that respect, so we can have our own tools, our own systems that we control, and so we can, you know, we can narrow or remove these challenges that we face. The last thing I'll say is, before we go, I'm going to make a final attempt to join us with Brother Julius. And should that not be successful, I wish everybody a good evening, and a thank you again to everyone for joining us. Brother Julius, can you hear me? Testing, testing. Brother Julius, can you hear me? I'm not sure if you I'm not sure if it's just me that cannot hear, but I can't hear Brother Julius at the moment.
Yeah, I can't hear him either. I can't hear him either.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Angela.
Yes, Brother Julius, we can hear you. We'll try. We'll try. We'll try for this.
Angela.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so sorry.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. What would you what would be your parting message for the viewers now that we have
Hello.
you back on? I know you've had connectivity issues, as have we all.
Okay.
Oh dear. Now I think we've lost everybody. Thank you once again for joining us. I see this last comment here. Brother Kojo, you're welcome. So you're asking, when is the first step coming? Even the AU itself is undermining us. Absolutely. The first step, I don't think we have not, let me say that again. We're already taking steps. It's just that the steps are scattered to a certain extent, you know. Excuse me. Brother Julius, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Let's have
Hello?
this final attempt. Yes, I can hear you. Please, Brother Julius, what message would you like to leave the
Yeah.
viewers with? Your connection hold for this
Can you hear
moment.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Had for United States of Africa. The idea was not, and he theory and practice to bring this one voice, dedication and devotion. But it is
And with that being said, I am going to this evening. As I was saying, we have already taken steps. We are taking steps. This is just stepping. You know, we have been we're building unity and we speak it, but we're not doing it. How can we unite? How can we unite? Naturally, each of us will have an idea of how we think things should be. So we'll start something, you know, whether it's a commercial enterprise or work on an NGO, a social enterprise, a civil society organization, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there must come to a point where we say, oh, that person is doing something similar to me. We must join. It doesn't mean that you lose the identity of or your rationale for setting up your organization. It takes in place Global Pan-African Movement Network is partner with Heart and Mother Foundation. What is the saying? It's like if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We want to go far. We cannot be achieving what we want to achieve when we're so um, not divided, when we're so spread out that, you know, we're spreading ourselves too thin. And there's no weakness in joining with other people who are doing something similar to you. In fact, there's strength. That's why we say there are strength in numbers. So quite straightforward. We need to lose our egos. And I know we can all suffer from this. You know, you put your heart and soul into building something, you know, into creating it. It's like your idea. You think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and then somebody else is doing something similar, but you know yours is a bit different, and you're wondering if you go and join this person, are they either going to take you over or your idea is going to be lost? No, the question we need to ask is ultimately, are we all trying to achieve the same thing, or are we both trying to achieve the same thing, or three or four people, organizations? Once you find like the one common aim, you can come together. You can come together to work towards those things. That's why I'm saying that we are taking steps, but the steps are all over the place. To come together, the question you should be asking is, who out there is doing something similar to what I'm doing that I can join forces with, so that they benefit and we benefit and the community benefits and the country benefits, then the motherland benefits. Like, where can we join forces? Rather than at the moment we're trying to think, yes, we must unite as a people, but aren't there people in the organizations, people in the communities? You can unite in different places and then it will all come together. Like I said, we're very skilled at making things complicated. So that is my parting message, to ask yourself, who individually or on an organizational level is doing something similar to what I'm doing, or has a similar vision to that I have, that I can join forces with and make a bigger impact. Do they have the same goal as me? Because two people join over here, another two join over here, then maybe these two, they say, okay, let's join these two over there, then it becomes four. Then four joins another 10. Okay, you have 14. It is so much closer than we think it is. It really is. But we don't know because we get lost in our confusion and our division and our complexity. But yes, tonight, as we have had this discussion, thank you for tuning in. 111 years since the birth of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He's left us a wonderful legacy, and it's not done, and we must do better. That's our job. So until next time, we are back. At least we're back on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. GMT. for the Women in Political Leadership series, where I will be talking to the independent presidential aspirant for Uganda. So do not miss that discussion. 6:30 p.m. GMT here on the United States of Africa and Power to Our Mothers Foundation Facebook pages. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are.